India is known to have more than 2 million Hindu temples. These temples reflect the variety of Indian culture and way of life. Temple architecture in India has always embodied an underlying vision. It is a representation of experience, space, and time. The art and architecture involved in the construction of Hindu temples is well defined in the Shilpa Shastra. It mentions three main kinds of temple architecture in India: Nagar or northern style, Dravid or the southern style, and Vesara or the mixed style. The defining feature of northern style are Garbhagriha, that is sanctum, sanctorium, Shikhar, the Kalvinia tower, and Mandap, the entrance hall. The northern style developed gradually as the earlier temples had only one tower, while the later temples were constructed with multiple towers and the sanctum can always be found under the tallest tower. The temples of Khajuraho are a magnificent example of the northern style of temples, as the temples consist of a sanctum, a narrow antechamber, a transept, additional a nave, and an ambulatory passage, which is also known as Pradakshinapath in Hindi, which is lighted by large windows. The group of temples of Khajuraho testifies to the culmination of northern Indian temple art and architecture of Chandella dynasty, who ruled the region in the 10th and 11th centuries CE. Distributed over an area of 6 square kilometers in a picturesque landscape, the 23 temples that form the western, eastern, and southern clusters of the Khajuraho Group of Monuments are rare surviving examples that display the originality and high quality of northern style temple architecture. Khajuraho, known for its ornate temples, was built by Chandella rulers between 900 CE to 1130 CE. The first mention of Khajuraho and its temples is in the accounts of Abu Rayyan al-Baruni 1022 CE and Ibn Battuta in 1335 CE. The temples were said to have been spread across 20 square kilometers and there were around 85 temples in the 12th century. The ravages of time have reduced the number of temples in Khajuraho to just 20 today. The Chandela Empire ruled central India from the 10th to the 14th centuries. Chandelas were well known for their interest in art and architecture. Although followers of Shaivism, the Chandelas were also said to have been inclined towards Vaishnavism and Jainism as well. The carvings at the temples seem to be predominantly about Hindu deities and mythology. The architectural style also follows Hindu traditions. This can be validated by various factors. A predominant feature of the construction of a Hindu temple is that the face of the temple should be towards the direction of sunrise. Although the temples of Khajuraho have been built with this in mind, moreover, the carvings reflect the four goals of life in Hinduism, that is, dharma, kam, arth, and moksha. The monuments built by the Chandelas were famous for their architectural and sculptural glory. The Chandelas were also deeply interested in performance arts and the various forms of music and dance. This is evident from the sculptural representation of various scenes of music and dance depicted on the walls of these temples. The Khajuraho group of monuments demonstrates in layout and physical form the pinnacle of temple architectural development in northern India. Built in sandstone, each temple is elevated from its environs by a highly ornate terraced platform or a jagati on which stands the body, whose sanctum is topped by a tower of a type unique to northern style architecture, where the verticality of the principal spire atop the sanctum is accentuated by a series of miniature spires flanking it, each symbolizing Mount Kailasha or the abode of the gods. The plan of the temples shows the spatial hierarchy of axially aligned interconnected spaces. The temples are entered through an ornate entrance porch that is Ardha Mandap, which leads to the main hall Mandap, through which one accesses the vestibule that is Antarala before reaching the sanctum or the Garbhagriha. The main halls of the temples were often accompanied by lateral transepts with projecting windows as well as a circumambulatory path around the sanctum. Larger temples had an additional pair of transepts and were accompanied by subsidiary shrines on the four corners of its jagati. The temples of Khajuraho are known for harmonious integration of its sculptures with their architecture. All surfaces are profusely carved with anthropomorphic and non-anthropomorphic motifs depicting sacred and secular themes. Sculptures depicting acts of worship, clan and minor deities, and couples in union all reflect this sacred belief system. Other themes mirror social life through depictions of domestic scenes, teachers and disciples, dancers and musicians, and amorous couples. The composition and fineness achieved by the master craftsmen give the stone surfaces of the Khajuraho temples a rare vibrancy and sensitivity to the warmth of human emotions. Erotic imagery is very common in the temples of Khajuraho. Sculptures of celestial nymphs with broad hips, heavy breasts, and languishing eyes are commonly found in the Kandariya Mahadeva and Vishwanath temples. These sculptures are believed to reflect the idea of female beauty and fertility. Other scenes depicted on the walls of the temples are part of Nardhara, the human life cycle, signifying how sexual procreation and karma are the essential aspect of human life. The major focus of the study of the temples of Khajuraho have been on the sculptures. The walls of these temples have some of the best sculptures of the time, making Khajuraho a representation of excellent artistic features. It is believed that the temples constitute five different sets of sculptures. First is cult images, second being the Parivara, Parshva, and Avarna Devatas. Third, the Apsaras and the Sura Sundaris. Fourth, secular sculptures of miscellaneous themes, that is, dancers, musicians, disciples, and domestic scenes. And the fifth is mythical creatures, Vyalas, Sardula, and other animals. These sets of sculptures and erotic images represent scenes from the day to day life. Quite a few stories revolve around the history of these temples. One theory posits their construction can be understood as a part of the proliferation of the Shiva Shakti cult. The other theory is that the temples are representation of the Devadasis who were once a major part of the temple activities. The most beautiful women were brought from Magad, Malwa, and Rajputana to be trained as Devadasis in the temples of Khajuraho. People say that the Sura Sundaris who cover the interior and the exterior walls of the temples were taken from real life and juxtaposed with the sculptures of gods and goddesses. Another theory says that the sculptures represent the life cycle of a normal human being. It is difficult to state with certainty which of these theories is correct, as no written texts describing the construction exist today. Regardless of the reason behind the sculptures, what we do know is that we have been gifted with a set of most ornate, intricate, and beautiful sculptures extant anywhere in the world. The temples of Khajuraho are divided into three groups: the Western group, the Eastern group, and the Southern group. The architecture of the temples of Khajuraho is very complex. The main components of these temples are the Garbhagriha, that is sanctum sanctorium with antarala, a narrow antechamber; the Mahamandapa, a large hall; the Earth Mandapa and a mandap, which are smaller additional halls; the Pradakshina Path, or circumambulation path. A few temples at Khajuraho are the Panchayatana type with four shrines dedicated to the divinities and often another shrine in front of the portico dedicated to the Vahan or the vehicle of the principal deity. The temples of Khajuraho are believed to have been built of light colored sandstone imported from the quarries of Panna from the east bank of the Kane River. Iron clamps are also freely employed in the construction of these temples. A few other smaller temples are built partly of sandstone and partly of granite. The western group of temples are situated on the west of Bamidha Rajanagar Road on the banks of Sibsagar. They comprise six major edifices and are dedicated to the Shaivite and Vaishnavite culture. First one is Chaunsat Jogini Temple. This temple stands on the low rocky eminence to the southwest of the Sibsagar Lake. This is the only temple in Khajuraho which is built entirely of granite and is oriented northeast and southeast. The temple stands upon a massive plinth of comprises a courtyard which is 104 feet in length and 60 feet in breadth. The temple premises consists of 65 small cells, out of which one cell was dedicated to goddess Kali and the remaining 64 were dedicated to the yoginis, or the female attendants of goddess Kali, after whom the temple is named. Out of the 65 cells, only 35 have survived. No images remain on any of the cells. The cells are roofed with small spires of shikharas, the lower part of which are adorned with triangular ornaments in imitation of chaitya windows. There is no dated inscription to show the precise age of the temple. The second temple is Kandaniya Mahadev Temple. Largest of all the temples in Khajuraho, it dates back to the 10th century CE. It is 109 feet high and 60 feet wide. The interior arrangement of the temple differs from the usual construction of a Hindu temple, as it has an open passage around the sanctum, thus forming a higher altar of the inner portion of the temple. The walls of the Kendariya Mahabhat temple carry nearly 900 images. The height of the figures varies from 2.5 feet to 3 feet. The entrance of the temple is in the shape of an arch and is decorated with figures of deities and musicians. Also, the entrance of the sanctum has elaborate floral carvings interspersed with figures of ascetics engaged in penance. The female figures at the basis of the jambs are identified to be goddess Ganga, that is river Ganga, the Ganges, and goddess Chumna, that river Yamuna. The goddesses are accompanied by their respective vehicles, the crocodile and the tortoise. Inside the sanctum stands a marble linga, the symbol of Lord Shiva. There are also numerous figures of apsaras or nymphs in all sorts of delicate postures. Devi Jagdamba Temple. Around 77 feet in length and 50 feet in breadth, this temple is now known by the name of Devi Jagdamba, or the Mother Goddess of the world. It was originally believed to have been dedicated to Lord Vishnu, as his figure occupies the center of the entrance of the sanctum. It also has the figures of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to the right and left. Inside the sanctum, there is an elaborate statue of a four-armed female figure holding lotus flowers. Another figure of goddess Lakshmi is also present in the temple. Based on some inscriptions found here, it is assumed that the temple was built in the 10th or 11th century, the period in which the Chandella rule flourished. A figure of Yama lies on the south side of the sanctum, while figure of Lord Shiva is present on the lower niche. Chitragupta or Bharatji's temple. This temple faces east, is 75 feet in length and 52 feet in breadth, dedicated to the sun god, or that is Surya. An image of sun god is enshrined within the sanctum. Wearing high boots and driving a chariot of 7 horses, the length of the image is 5 feet, while another image of sun god can be found over the entrance. Another sculpture of interest is an 11-headed image of Lord Vishnu enshrined in the central niche to the south of the sanctum. The central head of Vishnu himself, while the remaining 10 heads are symbolic of his 10 incarnations. There are no inscriptions on the temples before the period of its construction cannot be defined. Fifth temple is Vishwanath temple. Vishwanath, or the Lord of Animals, is another name for Lord Shiva, to whom this temple is dedicated. As tall as 90 feet, the entrance of the sanctum centurium has a figure of Lord Shiva seated on Nandi bull. There are also figures of Lord Brahma on his vehicle and Lord Vishnu on his vehicle, the eagle, to the right and left. Inside the shrine is a lingam, and inside the mandapa are two Sanskrit inscriptions engraved on stone slabs. The larger inscription to the left is dated Vikrama Samvat of 1059, that is 1002 CE. It gives an account of genealogy of the Chandella kings from King Nannuka to King Dhanga. According to the inscription, the temple was built under the supervision of King Dhanga, who dedicated it to Lord Shiva by installing a linga with an emerald placed inside it. Sixth temple is Lakshmana Temple, also known as Chaturbhuj Temple. This temple is around 99 feet in length and 46 feet in breadth. It is popularly known for its innovation in the technique of architecture. Ornate bands began to be the apsaras. The entrance to the temples has an elegant toran, and the ceiling of mandapa or nave is relieved with ingenious devices of cusped and coffered circles. The entrance to the sanctum bears a figure of goddess Lakshmi along with the figures of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. It is believed that the temple was built around the 11th century CE. Other significant temples within the western complex include the Lal Gua Mahadev Temple, Nandi Temple, the Parvati Temple, the Mahadev Temple, and the Varaha Temple. The eastern group of temples are situated in close proximity to the village of Khajuraho. The complex comprises 3 Brahminical and 3 large Jain temples, viz. the Ghantai Temple, the Temple of Adinath, and that of Parshvanath. The Hindu temples are those of Brahma, Vamana, and Javari. Brahma Temple, situated on the banks of Khajuraho Sagar, it is believed that the four-faced image inside the sanctum can possibly be of Lord Shiva, but has been mistaken by the local worshippers for an image of Lord Brahma. The central positions on the lintels of the sanctum and west windows are occupied. It is the largest of the Jain temples, 69 feet long and 35 feet wide. It is believed to be shrine of Parshvanath, the 22nd Jain Tirthankara. The temple has a naked male figure on the left side of the door and a naked female figure on the right side. With 3 seated female figures over the center, above the entrance is a 10-armed Jaina goddess, holding various arms and weapons riding on a Garuda. 2 other goddesses riding, respectively, on a goose and a peacock, are carved at the ends of the lintel. Inside the temple is a small seated figure of Parshvanath, giving the temple its name. On the jambs of the door are 3 short records of pilgrims in characters of 10th or 11th century, which is the most probable date of the origin of the temples. The eastern complex also includes other important temples such as the Javari Temple, the Adinath Temple, and the Santinatha Temple. Southern Group of Temples. The southern group consists of 2 temples, Duladev and the Jatkari Temple. Duladev Temple, it is about a mile and a half away from the main Khajuraho temples and was originally dedicated to the Shiva cult. Measuring 70 feet high and 41 feet wide, this temple has 5 chambers. It has a unique set of carvings consisting of an effigy of the 4-armed Gada and a conch shell. It is believed that the temple was constructed around the 10th century CE. Jatakari or Chaturbhuja Temple. Situated near the Jatkari village, this temple faces west. It is dedicated to the Lord Vishnu, and an image of the deity of about 9 feet in height is enshrined in the sanctum. This 4-armed Chaturbhuj image of Lord Vishnu is adorned with a crown and other ornaments. The upper right hand of the image is raised in benediction, which bears a circular mark on the palm, while the left hand holds a stalk of the lotus and a sacred book tied with string. The outer portion of the sanctum is decorated with 3 rows of sculptures representing Hindu gods and goddesses. In the framework of the former design of the temples, the craftsmen of 1,000 years ago thus created a whole cycle of life and depict different facets of Hindu and Jain deities. Moreover, the sculptures are remarkable for the great variety of subject portrayed. Also beautifully depicted are the sensuously modeled bodies and waves of curves of garments and jewelry of the Sura Sundaris. Thus, the temples of Khajuraho perhaps constitute the most humanistic representation of the arts of our country in the early times.